After twice calling for a June summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, President Moon Jae-in is in Sweden on the final leg of his tour of Northern Europe. He's going to lay out his plans to rid the Korean peninsula of nuclear weapons. South Korea bids a final farewell to former First Lady Lee Hee-ho. She's being laid to rest next to her husband, former President Kim Dae-jung, at the Seoul National Cemetery. Plus, tensions flare up again in the Middle East as two oil tankers are attacked in the Gulf of Oman. The US government points an accusing finger at Iran. We are going to start in Sweden this morning, the third and final stop in Northern Europe for President Moon Jae-in. He is going to address that country's parliament in the coming hours, focusing on the denuclearization efforts here and how to draw on Sweden's example of fulfilling that aim itself. This as President Moon reiterated his call for a full summit with North Korea's leader before the end of this month. Our Shin Se-min reports from Stockholm.
The South Korean leader is continuing efforts to propel the peace process forward, starting with a possible fourth summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Speaking in Norway on Thursday, President Moon Jae-in said the timing, location, and formality of his proposed summit does not matter to him, but he insisted it could be arranged before the end of June. Having done his part, President Moon said the ball is now in North Korea's court.
남북 간에 아주 짧은 기간 동안 연락과 협의로 정상회담이 이루어진 경험도 있기 때문에 물리적으로 불가능하지는 않습니다. 그런 시기를 선택할지 여부는 김정은 위원장에게 달려 있다 말씀을 다시 한번 드립니다.
President Moon is expected to keep prodding Pyongyang to the summit table on Friday as he continues his trip to Northern Europe. Starting his state visit to Sweden, the South Korean leader will deliver a speech on inter-Korean peace to the European country's parliament. He's likely to focus on the need for high-level dialogue to deal with the regime's denuclearization and to reinvigorate inter-Korean relations. Key points of his speech are expected to include the importance of duty and responsibility among all the related parties. Watchers say President Moon could use the angle to nudge the North to make the first serious move on denuclearization in order to establish a degree of trust between Pyongyang and Washington. He may also reiterate the need for the international community, including European countries, to continue backing his peace initiative for the Korean peninsula. With President Moon on a mission to get the North to summit table as soon as possible, his speech at the Sweden's parliament on Friday will be a chance to hear his envisioned path to peace on the Korean peninsula. Shin Se-min, Arirang News, Stockholm.
Now, the funeral for former First Lady Lee Hee-ho is being held today with a memorial service taking place at Seoul National Cemetery as we speak. Lee, the wife of late former President Kim Dae-jung, died on Monday at the age of 97. Thousands of people have gathered to pay their respects, including top government officials, lawmakers and members of the public. Prime Minister Lee Nak-yeon delivered a eulogy while National Assembly Speaker Moon Hee-sang gave a memorial address. The service will be followed by the burial, which will only be attended by family members and funeral organisers. Lee is remembered for her work to improve women's rights, as well as promoting inter-Korean reconciliation and democracy. She was a supportive companion and advisor to former President Kim, who led South Korea between 1998 and 2003. Now, the Trump administration has refused Tesla's requests for an exemption from the 25% tariff on China-made components of its electric vehicles. Tesla petitioned the U.S. Trade Representative for tariff relief last month, saying the increased tariffs on key components used for its Model 3 would cause the company economic harm. The USTR rejected the request, saying the Model 3 components in question are strategically important or related to Made in China 2025 or other Chinese industrial programs. It also refused General Motors' requests for an exemption from tariffs on Chinese-made auto parts. Turning now to Thursday's attacks on 2 oil tankers in the Gulf of Oman, the latest in a series of attacks on global oil supplies passing through that key area. Until now, Tehran was rumoured to be behind the attacks, but now the US government is officially pointing the finger at Iran. Jae-in with the details.
U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo blamed Iran on Thursday for attacks on 2 tankers in the Gulf of Oman earlier in the day, saying Washington's assessment was based on intelligence and the weapons used in the attacks.
It is the assessment of the United States government that the Islamic Republic of Iran is responsible for the attacks that occurred in the Gulf of Oman today. This assessment is based on intelligence, the weapons used, the level of expertise needed to execute the operation, recent similar Iranian attacks on shipping, and the fact that no proxy group operating in the area has the resources and proficiency to act with such a high degree of sophistication.
Pompeo's remarks came just hours after the tankers were attacked and a month after 4 other ships in the region were struck in a similar method. At the time, U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton pointed the finger at Tehran but offered no evidence. However, on Thursday, Pompeo listed a number of accusations against Iran, calling it a campaign of escalating tension.
On May 12th, Iran attacked 4 commercial ships near the Strait of Hormuz. On May 14th, Iran-backed surrogates attacked by armed drones struck 2 strategically important oil pipelines in Saudi Arabia. On May 19th, a rocket landed near the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. On May 31st, a car bomb in Afghanistan wounded 4 U.S. service members, killed 4 Afghan civilians, and wounded bystanders. Yesterday, Iranian surrogates fired a missile into Saudi Arabia, striking the arrivals terminal of an international airport, injuring 26 people. Taken as a whole, these unprovoked attacks present a clear threat to international peace and security, a blatant assault on the freedom of navigation, and an unacceptable campaign of escalating tension by Iran.
Iran's Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif called the latest attacks suspicious, noting that one of the tankers is Japanese-owned and that the attack took place as Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was visiting Iran in an effort to calm tensions between Washington and Tehran. South Korean President Moon Jae-in, who was in Norway on Thursday, condemned the attacks. 23 crew members on the Frontier, a Norwegian-owned tanker that was attacked, were rescued by a South Korean cargo ship that was in the area at the time. President Moon added South Korea would do its utmost to help resolve the issue. Jae-in, Arirang News.
Now, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says China continues to pose risks to national security, taking a shot at Chinese telecom company Huawei. In an interview on the Mark Levin show this week, Pompeo said many of China's business plans are national security projects masked as commercial projects, taking a jab at Huawei without mentioning it by name. Asked if Washington's allies in the region are alert to the matter, Pompeo said it varies, adding that most of the world is unaware of China's plans. On Thursday, Seoul's foreign ministry said the government will explore ways to shield military communications from any potential security risks associated with the 5G wireless network while respecting the autonomy of private companies. Now, Washington's team of officials for East Asia is finally complete as the Senate confirmed on Thursday former Air Force General Davide Stilwell's appointment as the Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs. The post had remained empty for more than 2 years despite major challenges in the region. It's been nearly 8 months since President Trump nominated the former Korea fighter pilot. The new top diplomat for East Asia has degrees related to South Korea and China and can speak Korean, Chinese and some Japanese. We turn now to the latest on last month's tragic sinking of a tourist boat in Budapest. The captain of the cruise ship accused of causing the sinking has been released on bail nearly 2 weeks after the deadly incident. 25 people, mostly South Korean tourists, have been confirmed dead, while 3 are still unaccounted for. Kim Mil-gyun with the details.
The Ukrainian captain of the Viking-Sigyn cruiser, identified as Yuri Chaplinsky, was released from custody on Thursday after a Hungarian court upheld its earlier decision to grant him bail, despite the prosecution's appeals for him to stay under lock and key. His bail was set at $53,000. Upon his release, the captain covered his face with paper and did not respond to any reporters' questions. The captain's lawyer said his client is very sorry, but the captain denies being responsible for the collision.
I can say one thing, that he is incredibly affected by it. He is very sorry that this happened, but this does not mean admitting criminal responsibility.
The 64-year-old was arrested earlier this month on suspicion of criminal misconduct as his ship slammed into the side of the Hlavliany tourist boat, causing it to capsize and rapidly sink to the bottom of the Danube River. The collision killed 25 people, with 3 still missing. Under the conditions of his bail, the captain has to undergo police questioning twice a week and wear an electronic tracking device so he cannot leave Budapest. The search continues for the bodies of the missing. The Hungarian and Korean crews were not able to find any additional bodies during their search of the boat, so they're planning to focus on scouring the Danube, particularly downstream from Budapest. Seoul's foreign ministry announced that the 2 sides will search the river with helicopters, drones, and boats, and deploy more than 60 people for the search. It also plans to seek cooperation from neighboring countries, including Croatia, Romania, and Serbia. Kim Mil-gyun, Arirang News.
Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's efforts to soothe the increasingly tense relationship between Iran and the United States have failed. Iran's supreme leader declined on Thursday to respond to US President Donald Trump's message that Abe brought with him to Tehran. For more on this and other news from around the world, let's turn to our Hong Yu. So give us the details.
Well, the meeting between Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei was aimed at making peace between the U.S. and Iran, but was overshadowed by Thursday's attacks on 2 tankers in the Gulf of Oman. The attacks near the entrance to the Persian Gulf were reported early Thursday, and U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo wasted little time saying Iran was responsible. These attacks come amid escalating tension between the U.S. and Iran due to tighter U.S. sanctions over renegotiating a nuclear deal. The U.S. and Iran signed a 2015 nuclear accord after having negotiated the matter for 5 to 6 years, a deal which was swiftly abandoned by President Trump, who claimed it was a horrible one-sided deal. Abe had discussed Iran with Trump in Tokyo last month and had brought a message from the U.S. leader, a message Khamenei said was not worthy of a reply. He said President Trump was not ready for honest negotiation.
None of our problems will be solved negotiating with America. Americans have been as hostile as they could towards us, and they continue to do so. No free nation will accept negotiations under pressure.
It was seen as crucial for Abe to ease tension between the 2 countries, as Japan imported most of its oil from Iran until last month, when Washington said countries importing Iranian oil could face sanctions. Khamenei said Japan should show a firm stance if it wants to expand its ties with Iran. In the UK, Boris Johnson enjoyed a landslide win in the first round of the Conservative Party leadership election on Thursday, winning more than twice as many votes as his closest rival, Jeremy Hunt. He garnered 114 votes to Hunt's 43. 3 candidates, Andrea Leadsom, Esther McVeigh, and Mark Harper, were eliminated as they failed to secure at least 17 votes. The next round of voting will take place next week, and later this month, the 2 most popular candidates will face a final vote. The new leader of the centre-right party will be announced in late July. The winner will take over from Theresa May as the next British Prime Minister. At least 25 police officers have been injured in Memphis after demonstrators in the city threw bricks at police during a protest over the death of an African-American man. The turmoil broke out Wednesday as U.S. Marshals shot and killed 20-year-old Brandon Weber, who was wanted on multiple charges. He was shot dead as he got into a vehicle. According to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, Weber rammed his vehicle into the officer's vehicle multiple times before exiting with a weapon. As news of his death spread, protesters destroyed a concrete wall outside a business and smashed the windows of squad cars and a fire station.
Time now for our Life and Info segment, where we focus on information that's hopefully useful for your everyday life. Today we're going to talk about burnout syndrome. It's a medical condition of sorts, so we have our health reporter Che Shi-young in the studio to tell us more. Shi-young, start by describing to us all what burnout syndrome is. It sounds like it might be something that's fairly common in this modern, hectic life we have these days.
Well, Mark, according to the latest definition by the World Health Organization, burnout is an occupational health problem with involving multiple symptoms, all resulting from only work-related stress. Now, we call this a syndrome because well, it has many symptoms that occur simultaneously. The WHO says burnout syndrome has characteristics such as feelings of energy depletion, mental distance from your job, negativity, and reduced professional efficacy.
So it is a health problem then that's related to work stress. So is it classified as an illness or a disease or some sort, and why is it specifically classified as stress related to being in the workplace rather than just the general stress of life?
Well, it's not a disease or illness, and the WHO also says it's not a medical condition or a distinct disorder. And on the reason it has to be work-related stress, let's take a listen to what some experts had to say.
We have people coming in who think that if they cannot finish a certain amount of work, then they are worthless. These people make up the majority of those suffering burnout. This is why we're talking about burnout in a work-related context only.
Okay, so then in that case, how do we know if we have burnout syndrome? And if we do think we do have it, should we go to see a health professional to seek advice, or is it something we can overcome ourselves?
Well, actually, today I brought a self-test that tells you whether you are likely to suffer from this syndrome. Now, let us take a closer look at the test. If you look at the test, you examine each symptom and give yourself a score for each item on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being strongly disagree and 5 being strongly agree. Now, a score of 65 or above means you likely suffer from the syndrome. Now, please be advised this is a rough assessment, so consult with a health professional if you're worried about your condition after you take the test.
Okay, that's useful to know, Shi-young. I presume viewers watching at home might be wondering what kind of age group in particular might suffer from burnout syndrome, and what symptoms are most frequently referenced by those who actually seek out professional medical help?
Well, unfortunately, at this point, we have no official studies done on which age groups suffer most, but some health experts did say middle-aged men make up the majority of individuals coming in seeking help and advice for this problem.
Right.
Let's hear from the experts.
Men in their 40s are usually on the path to managerial positions, and evidently they feel more pressure than other people in the workplace.
He said the most frequently referenced symptom was energy depletion or exhaustion. He added that out of all the people he sees, Professional license holders are most likely to come through his door. But on the question on whether men or women are more likely to suffer, he said, it's hard to determine given the lack of data at this point.
Okay, that's very good information. So if we feel like we are burning out ourselves, you showed us the checklist there. Some people may have spotted some feelings they get every once in a while. How can we go about mitigating this issue, and how exactly does the counselling work?
Well, basically, counseling aims to widen your perspectives to find out what you really want. If you suffer from this symptom, the chances are the pain is so great that you are unable to mentally to step out to see how you things around the world. Now, counselors first listen to what you have to say and ask you a series of questions and walk you through the choices you could have made or can still make, but overlooked because you are suffering this mental anguish. This process helps you to discover what you really want deep down, and satisfying those true inner desires is supposed to shake you out of the burnout symptoms. Now, counselors say the time needed for each individual to get to that point varies. They said individuals' will to cope with the symptoms can either shorten or lengthen the treatment period.
Okay, so Xiong, what do health experts say is the best way to prevent yourself falling foul of burnout syndrome then?
Well, for that, let's take a final listen to some experts that I spoke to.
So you might need to create a social support system so that you can talk with somebody, especially when you feel so down. That's the first thing. And second thing is that maybe you should avoid overwork or overtime work. So please do not bring your work home. That's the key. And also try to have some healthy balance.
Yeah, well, it's so ingrained in Korean culture to work long hours and things like that, and you are put under a lot of stress by your bosses and whatnot. You can see why this is becoming a big problem in Korea, and we must stress that mental health is a very serious issue. So if you feel like you have any issues in regard to that, you should go and see a professional. Xiong, thank you very much for your time today. Great tips and advice, and hopefully it can help some of our viewers out there out. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Now, Seoul City is looking for non-Korean residents who have been role models to the capital's citizens and international residents. The Seoul Metropolitan Government is accepting applications for honorary citizenship to recognize an international resident's contribution to the local community. Now, candidates need to have resided in the city for more than 3 years in a row and made significant contributions to Seoul in one of a number of different aspects, including culture, economy, or science. Those granted honorary citizenships will be invited to official events and provided with discounted admissions to facilities operated by the city. The deadline for applying is July 19th, so you still have plenty of time. Those interested can apply through postal mail or in person. If you want to get more details, visit the website you can see on the screen now.
Good morning. It's forecast to be a rainy one for Jeju and southern parts of the country. In fact, it's been raining on Jeju Island since dawn, and rain clouds are gradually spreading to southern parts of the mainland. For a closer look, by mid-afternoon, most southern regions in Jeju will be seeing showers, while parts of Gangwon province will see sporadic showers during the day today. Jeju Island will see 10 to 40 millimeters of rainfall, up to 20 millimeters over in the Jeollado provinces, and the rest of the country will be under partly sunny skies today. Temperatures will be lower today with showers and clouds. In fact, highs in Gwangju will be nearly 4 degrees lower today, just topping out at 24 degrees this afternoon. And as for this weekend, inland regions will see passing showers with thunder and lightning, while Sunday will be bright and sunny one for the entire country. That's Korea for you, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, that's where we're going to have to leave the news and weather for now on this Friday morning here in Seoul. Stay tuned to Arirang TV. Next newscast is coming up at noon Korea time. If we don't see you, have a wonderful weekend. Until next time, goodbye.
Cooperation and exchange between Korea and its close allies has been more important than ever. With a focus on international diplomacy, the diplomat seeks to reinforce relationships between Korea and the world. Join us as we connect with foreign ambassadors to better understand Korean politics, economy, culture, and more. The Diplomat.